You know, the genesis of this program that I created for you is really that desire of like, I see so many people, you hear this human potential. They talk about human potential, but they don't do shit with it. And you know, when you put your money in the market intelligently, when you start getting, when you see some patterns that are, you know, somewhat reliable and predictable, a lot of psychological patterns, you know, as much as finance, you can anticipate pretty well what's going to happen in some situations. So when the markets, you know, when this recent stuff happened, you know, I had friends that called me, text me, say, you know, what are we doing with this stock? You know, the market's up 6 days in a row. Do I lock in these gains? You see, oh, it's, you know, they say that there's going to be a, you know, this or that problem, whatever the hysteria of the moment is. And I don't know, you know, it's been fun to help calm the nerves of some people and help them have a more long-term perspective that there's moments when you have to take immediate action and get some shit done because the market's going to shift dramatically. And there's moments where you can buy something and hold it for years and just enjoying the gains on it. You know, the past 12 months, I put this screenshot in here for you that the past 12 months, you know, I've almost tripled the money that I had in my stock account. And, you know, long-term returns on the S&P are about 8.1%. Long-term returns are about 8.1% per year, and that's an average going back to the 1970s. And, you know, if you invested in treasuries or some other, you know, you get a pittance of a return. You get a pittance of a return of, you know, less than 2%. You can't make money like that. You're not going to save your way to prosperity investing in treasuries. You don't get to save your way to prosperity. It's just, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And, you know, am I going to be able to get 184% return, 183.88? Am I going to be able to get that every year of my life? No. No, I'm not going to be able to get that every year. No, I have no delusion that I'm going to be able to get a return like that year after year after year. And you know what else? I don't fucking need to. Because, you know, even if you got that 8.1% and you compound that out, you know what? I got a fucking 2 decades worth of returns in 1 year. In that year, there's 2 decades worth of returns. And, you know, if you do that a few times in your life where you have a special opportunity, and you can do that a few times in your life, well, you're not much worried about, you don't have to do that every year, do you? It's not possible. Nobody can. Nobody can. And I'm not trying to put this, this slide here or this image here to purport that it is possible. It's not. But you can do it sometimes. You can do it sometimes. But only if you're decisive, only if you're an action taker, only if you did the training ahead of time. You don't get to go to war with the army you wish you had. You don't get to go to war with the supplies, the provisions, the army, the team that you wish you had. When a war comes up, when an enemy attacks, when something crazy happens in the economy, you're going to go there with the resources that you currently have, not the shit you wish you had. And if you're not well prepared, if you're not preparing during good times, you're going to miss opportunities like this during a tumultuous time. And if you get scared during that tumultuous time and you don't know what to do and how to do it, and you know, you're hopeless. You're probably going to go bankrupt. You know, you're going to damage your lifetime's earnings potential, and I think that's really a shame. It's unnecessary. It's a shame. The opportunity of a lifetime. You know, why do I say that? And the current market situation is. The current market situation is that this is better than the 2008-2009 recession. There's more opportunity right now. There was more economic damage then in many ways, and more opportunity right now, because a lot of this is people misinterpreting information, people being tricked by the grotesque media during an election year, and you know, the things can bounce back a lot quicker from here if done the right way, than happened last time. The gains are going to be extraordinary, and the market don't have to go straight up. You say, well, Derek, the market's up a lot already. You know what? I don't know when this is going to end, but it's not over yet. I know there's still a lot of opportunity yet, and there's a lot of distressed assets out there yet that we can make a lot of fucking money on. And again, I don't know where it's going to end exactly. I don't know when, but I know it's not there yet. I know there's still time. You know, Jim Cramer. I'm not a big fan of these pundits. These investment guys are, you know, jibber on TV. But you know, Cramer actually ran a hedge fund. Cramer's a pretty smart guy in some ways. Went to Harvard. hedge fund guy, pretty smart guy. He says one of the greatest wealth transfers in history. Which side of that wealth transfer do you want to be on? What side of that wealth transfer do you want to be on? Do you want to be a beneficiary of that? You're going to sit on the sidelines and watch your savings get eaten away? Watch inflation destroy your savings? So you're going to get involved in that and start the process, continue the process, or start the process of building real wealth. So I mentioned this earlier. Let's do a deeper dive. So the markets are comprised of all the activities, all the human endeavors that are taking place on the earth. That's the market, the global economy. That includes, trendy things like cryptocurrency. It also includes more durable things like, stocks, options, bonds, commodities, future, foreign currency exchange. You learn things about long-term investing versus, short-term investing or even day trading. There's a lot of different ways to make money in these situations. There's a lot of different ways to make money in the situations. If you do what losers do, you'll get loser outcomes. If you're smart enough and dedicated enough to do what winners do, you get champion outcomes. But any outcomes mentioned here is not a guarantee to your success. That depends on you and a multitude of factors in the economy at large. And again, by continuing to participate, you acknowledge and you agree with those terms. If you don't do that, you can go fuck off right now, no worries. Now, important that you see a guy that doesn't know how to play with options. You see this Robinhood app in 2020. Guy kills himself because he's fucking around with options and doesn't know what he's doing, and he has the perception that he lost $700,000. And that's what happens when you get too far over your head in a market, when you're playing with money and you don't really know what the hell you're doing. That's the sort of outcome that happens. You can bankrupt yourself. You could feel a desperate situation like this poor bastard did, and that's really sad. It's sad, and part of the reason it's sad is it's entirely unnecessary. It's entirely unnecessary. Einstein, you guys might have heard of old Einstein. He says, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now, that first part is more famous. That first part, it says compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. It's the eighth wonder of the world. People repeat that one frequently. They don't tell you as much about the second part. He who understands it earns it. And he who doesn't pays it. And you want to be on the right side of that. You want to be on the right side of that as well. My favorite money speaker, Derek Moneyberg, he says poverty is a lifestyle choice. I really believe this. If you're in a first world country, poverty is a lifestyle choice. Mediocrity is like the default lifestyle choice. That's what most people are going to do. It's going to be mediocre. It's going to be in the middle. You know what else? Millionaire is a lifestyle choice. I did that a long time ago. I did that in my 20s. And the idea that you're in a first world country and you think that you can't go do that, that's not true. That's you holding yourself back. If you don't know that in a country like America, in most of Europe, Western Europe, Scandinavia, countries like Australia, half of Asia, if you don't know that you could be a millionaire, at least. $1 million is not even a lot of money. $1 million is not even a lot of money. But you don't know that you could be a millionaire, you're really selling yourself short. You must think very little of yourself. You must think very little of yourself if you don't think that you could accomplish that at some point in your life. And $1 million is where things start. That shouldn't be an aspiration for you in your 60s, in your 70s. $1 million is when you're starting to really be in the game. And let me explain. It's like, what can you buy with $1 million? What kind of real estate can you buy, I mean, even in the Middle East, even in Israel, for $1 million, you could buy a nice land parcel, not with a house. For $1 million, what would you buy in San Francisco? What could you buy in Manhattan? For $1 million, it'd buy you like a one-bedroom shack or a studio apartment that you go outside and your girl's going to be harassed by people on the street. You're going to go outside and you're going to be harassed by people on the street. So $1 million is not, if that's your highest aspiration, you're not thinking high enough. You're not thinking high enough. I'm going to share just some very basics about compound interest to really illustrate that this point of, who remembers learning about compound interest, like back in grade school, maybe where you were in a child, still, and, about how, time in the market is an incredibly powerful tool. Remember people have told you somewhere, start early, start early. And how many of you actually type this in and help me understand, how many of you have already pissed away tremendous amounts of money on not much? How many of you have already pissed away thousands and thousands of dollars buying stupid shit when you could have been investing in a portfolio? A portfolio is a money-making machine, is a money machine. It keeps making you wealth while you sleep and while you work. How many of you are willing to say that you pissed away money on cigarettes or booze or video games or God knows what, just stupid shit, clothes you didn't need, car that was too expensive, you're trying to impress somebody instead of impress yourself? I mean, a bunch of you here. So, yeah, Dylan says 10K on weed. 10K on weed, car parts. What else we got here? Alex says, yep. Butlers, Solomon, Isman, Tyler, Deer, Dylan, Sam, Brandon, Matthew, Alex. Tyler pissed away more money. He's in there twice. Same Tyler, I think. Richard, Lauren, Alex, Allison, Kobe. Yeah, everybody. Everybody. It's a shame. It's a shame. Mo, yeah, I did too. Richard says 30,000. Video games, alcohol, and false investing. Yeah. So there's a massive list here, but look. Let's look at this chart. You don't even have to do the math. The math is done for you. Tom says one dude says he spent too much on a wedding, and Tom here says he spent too much on hookers. So that's a hell of a contrast. I don't know who made a better investment or worst investment, but depends on the girls involved, I suppose. Look, check out this chart. You start there in year zero. Year zero is today. $10,000 is just an anchor. Maybe you have a lot more money than that. Maybe you have a lot less money than that at the moment. Maybe you have less money than that at the moment. Let's change that. You see, as that goes on, you see over the course of a few decades, even that $10,000, which is not much money. It's less than Tom spent on hookers, probably. Even that $10,000 can turn into over $600,000 in 44 years' time. Nothing special about 44 years. It's just the time that most of us still have in our lives, unless you're old. A lot of people on here have a lot more of the time than that in your life, So just there, and it fit on the graph easily, okay? Now, 44 years. You can get more than 66x return in that time frame. That's at a 10% return rate. Now, it showed the S&P market in the last year did almost 13%. Now, I had about 184%. And again, it doesn't mean you're not going to get 184% every year. That's a special opportunity. You're not going to get 13% guaranteed. But that's what the whole market did in the past year. So 10% is not a crazy number at all. Some investors, Buffett's gotten for decades, for like this, decades, had over 20% returns. And let's dig into that a little bit more. If you had a 20% or 15% return rather, that $600 for that extra 5%, that's $662,000, starting with the same 10,000. You look down there in that bottom right corner, turns into almost 4.7 million. If you would have started back in grade school, instead of wasting that money on all the things that you just typed in, how much easier would your life be if you would have started that in the past? You got to stop procrastination. Procrastination is the enemy of prosperity. If you're going to procrastinate, you're not going to prosper. If you're going to procrastinate, if you're going to waste your time, if you're going to dick around, if you're going to waste your money, you're not actually going to be rich. You're not actually going to be rich. How many of you actually want to be rich, by the way? How many of you actually want to be rich? Type that in if you're one of those people that you actually want to be rich. Not that it's a nice idea, not that, that'd be convenient if it accidentally happened. How many of you actually want to be rich? How many of you are planning to do whatever it takes to actually be rich instead of some faint idea, some fantasy in your head? Yeah, then the names are coming in so quick I can't read them all. If you didn't type that in right now, something's fucking wrong with you. If you didn't type that in here, something's fucking wrong with you. And again, it's my goal. I'd love for half of you to leave. I'd like the serious half to stay here. I'd like the other half to just go back to pissing your life away. You don't need my help for that. No need for additional help. You know, even at this chart, 15%, you see that 5% additional advantage over 44 years. That's over $400,000 extra dollars for that extra 5%. Let's do one more of these. Let's look at what would happen if you got 20% return. These are like Warren Buffett type numbers. You're probably not going to get that. I'm just illustrating a point. Is, you know, Buffett's done more than 20%. He did that for decades. Decades, averaged more than that. And the only point I'm making to you is it really pays to know how to invest. Because in that same time frame, where some investors got 600,000, some got 4.6, 4.7 million, you look down here, it's almost 30 million. At a 20% return compounding, is almost 30 million. 30 million. What would you do with those kind of returns? Well, you wouldn't be at your fucking job, would you? You wouldn't do anything that you didn't really enjoy and love. You wouldn't do a damn thing that you didn't enjoy and love. You'd only work on projects. You'd only have time to work on projects that you enjoy and love. You wouldn't have time to work on any kind of bullshit that wasn't good use of your time that you didn't enjoy. All right? Now, I know what I did. I'd like to travel, but, you know, what would you do? Would you travel around the world? You do what you want. You do whatever you want. You travel where you want to, when you felt like it. You do what you want when you got there, when you wanted to do it, and with whoever the fuck you felt like it, because you wouldn't have to spend your time doing some fake-ass shit that you feel like you have to do. You don't have to go to a job and spend your life doing some fake-ass shit that you don't even like instead of doing the things that you'd actually like to be doing with your time. I think it's a tragedy when people do that. I think it's a tragedy. Now, there's a few things. Furthermore, it all happens in the background. If you have a good investment portfolio, you know, there's ways to structure this that you don't have to manage it day to day. You know, when there's a real crisis or opportunity, that's a fantastic time to be an active manager of the money. And, you know, during normal times, you can actually chill and go do what you want and do it guilt-free. Guilt-free chill. Guilt-free do whatever you want. So that's a very different situation than most people are experiencing in their life. You know, the key to getting high returns consistently, it really comes down to three things. There's really three things. How do you keep your emotions out of your investment decisions? This is where most people fail right here, honestly. Besides not knowing what the fuck to do, they intellectually understand, but then they get emotional. This emotionality, look, in a market like this, is like you can predict what's going to happen over the course of several years, but it's really hard to predict, you know, what's going to happen in the short term. You're going to have a lot of volatility. The market don't just go straight up. You're going to have a lot of volatility. And well, if you're not prepared for that volatility, you know, when you're down 30% or more, that's not a time to panic. This might be a time if you believe in the investments you've made, if you believe in, you know, what your investment thesis, if you understand how to read financial statements, you understand how to evaluate a company, you understand how to evaluate other various asset classes, whether that's foreign currencies or cryptocurrencies or commodities or whatever it is that you might be, you know, trading or investing in. You have to understand, you have to actually know how to read financial statements and understand this stuff, understand how business works, because if you don't, you're just going to get emotional and you're going to panic and sell shit probably at the exact time that you should have been buying more. And, you know, I remember a time in the last recession, I'm not happy about this. I wish my timing was better, but in the last recession, when I was less experienced, you know, 11 years ago, long time ago, this was the number one thing that drove me to go to business school, by the way. I already had 6 years in college before I started graduate school because I took a lot of extra courses because I had scholarship money to do so. So I had an academic scholarship, so I took the extra free courses. In any case, or discounted, 50% scholarship, discounted courses. So, you know, I was down 70% at one time. And I remember being with one of my friends. We were in New Orleans. We were on Canal Street, right by the French Quarter. And I remember being with one of my friends. We saw this new Lamborghini drive by, you know, it was probably March 2009, right near the bottom of the recession. And I remember telling my buddy that, you know, my portfolio is down 70% right now. And, you know, I could have easily bought as many of those cars as I want. Could have bought them in multiple colors. If I wanted Lamborghinis, could have bought a couple Lamborghinis, bought them in multiple colors. And that wasn't a very good feeling. That really felt like shit at that moment. And you know what? He and I were in Manhattan just a couple months ago because he reached out to me. In this recession, he reached out to me because he knows I'm the first person he'd think about stuff like this. Now, in that last 11 years since we had that moment together, when we got together in Manhattan, and we've talked off and on in between, but we haven't spent a lot of time together the past couple of years, he's been building his business. And, you know, he's worth about $30 million now, high 20s. He's worth 20-something, close to $30 million now. And you know, I'm the first person he reached out to ask about, well, what are we going to do with this money now that the markets are all crazy? Where's the best opportunities to turn this into 100 million plus? So, you know, we're working on that together in the background. The reason I bring this up to you is just that 70% down is like, you know, that's an emotional time. And I was smart enough and disciplined enough to not panic and not sell stuff at the bottom. All right? And, you know, what happened at the end of that is I got to multiply that money. And I ended up making a lot of fucking money in that last recession. And, you know, then I had to realize, I had to analyze, well, what are all the things I did right? What are the things that I did right that weren't just luck, but that were the result of good decisions? And what are the things that I fucked up? And what are the things that I was uncertain about that I need more certainty about for next time? And I really went to graduate school for that. And, you know, the school I picked is the top school, and you know they specialize in, you know, economics, finance, and accounting. And I wanted to go there to, you know, I had employees, I had a business, I had a lot of good things going on. I went to a fantastic undergrad institution, learned about entrepreneurship, learned about a lot of things there. I understand the fundamentals of business quite well, you know, even back then. But I wanted to have a very deep dive, much closer to, you know, an elite expert knowledge level of finance, accounting, economics, etc. And that's why I chose University of Chicago for my graduate school. That's what they're best at. So, you know, I spent years now learning that, paying attention. I mean, entrepreneurship forever, but I spent years learning that in greater depth and thinking, well, what would you do next time? And what else could you do? What else could you do? And really obsessing about that. And that's, you know, some of those things that I said earlier that sound maybe a little cocky to some people. You know, made $1 million when you're 20 and multiplied that and multiplied it again, and, you know, millions of dollars plural so far this year, and you know, so on and so on. Some of those things they're off-putting to a peasant or to a middle-class person who's like, well, he likes to brag about himself a lot. No, I don't need to brag about myself so much, but I would like to, you know, exemplify to you that, like, well, that shit didn't happen overnight. It just took me, you know, 35 years of thinking about it, 35 years of paying attention every day. It just took me 35 years to develop the knowledge that I have and the experience that I have to actually feel comfortable. So you don't panic out of investments, so you don't make stupid emotional decisions with your money. It only took me 35 years to have results like that with significant consistency. Derek Moneyberg here. We're closing down applications and enrollment for my stock market mentoring program. This program is definitely not for everyone. What I've created is an in-depth masterclass on everything you need to know to build real wealth in the stock market. Inside the course, I'm going to be covering stock picking, research fundamentals, futures, options, charts, leverage, foreign exchange, commodities, crypto and other alternative currencies, day trading, and more. This is not a course for dabblers. Many have compared my courses to their MBA level graduate coursework. And if you are currently willing and able to dedicate 10+ hours of your time and focus every week to something that intense, I urge you, do not apply. This course is going to be dense and comprehensive. It will arm you with an arsenal of investment tools from basic concepts to high-level advanced strategies that I've developed while collaborating with some of the smartest financial minds in the world. For those who are accepted into the program and dedicate themselves to learning and internalizing the content, they'll graduate with a much more comprehensive understanding of how to navigate and win in any market or economic climate. So if you think you have what it takes and you want to join us on this 8-week journey, click that link, apply, and if you are well qualified, a member of my team will reach out for your interview. Do not procrastinate. Apply now because enrollment closes soon.